So at the beginning of October, I think what we basically said, kind of generally speaking, is markets up, right?
Markets up.
We went from nibbling to being constructively positive and basically being positioned long. Here's this really interesting setup. We have a bunch of very positive news that I think we all have to process. First positive news was that inflation ticked down. Now, here's what I'll tell you. There's a caveat here. I talked to a bunch of pretty smart sharps on Wall Street. And, two things. Number one is they all gave credit to David Sachs, and they said, Sachs was totally right. Double dip recession is coming. But then they said, tell Sachs that we think that these are the sharps. We think that there's a double hump in inflation coming, which means it's coming down to come back up. And there's a bunch of reporting vagaries that may cause that. So keep that in the back of your mind. But positive news, number one, is inflation ticking down. Number two, Jason, we talked about this. A federal judge basically stayed Biden's attempt at giving student loan relief. Now, that would have been a $500 billion transfer payment from the government into the hands of individuals. It is deflationary to not give that money to people. It's effectively taking stimulus away from folks. Number three, it looks like we're headed towards a split government, which means that we are not probably going to see any more stimulus over the next 2 years. Number four, Ukraine wins in Kherson. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Number five, the United States announced yesterday through the Wall Street Journal that they had essentially said no to Ukraine's request for advanced drones. And they said to Ukraine, essentially, you need to go and negotiate an end game here. And number six, China has started to relax its COVID policies, and Xi is pivoting to economy first. So if you took all of those things...
Take seven. Don't forget seven. Facebook, which would not take the medicine. They refused Brad Gerstner's letter, cut 11,000 people 48 hours ago.
My point is these seven things are macro level things that affect everybody.
Yep.
And I think if you take them together, what it says is that, wow, there's the potential for a lot of great positive developments over the next 6 or 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that was adequately priced in the market. But here's the problem. And this is why we've been rallying. The problem is that most of this rallying has been because of a bunch of short covering by folks who were pretty pessimistic and negative after the last few inflation prints. So this is not really net new buying that we saw over the last couple of days. So you take it all together, I'm like, it's still going to probably trend up a little bit. But then again, we talked about this, Jason, when the VIX gets into the low 20s or the high teens, that's probably the short-term top, and then it turns around, and unfortunately we're near the low 20s, high teens. So that's kind of my thought on things right now.